Hi, I'm Susan Faber, and I'm here with Valerie Heavens and Lynne Hilderman. And what we're going to talk today about is something real, something raw. It's about what happens when you want to have a conscious relationship when you're in crisis. How is that going to look? So, Lynn, can you give us some feedback on your thoughts about that?
Uh, so having a conscious relationship and then having, say, a crisis hit where, say, I don't agree with my beloved or my partner, and or we hit each other's edge around our core case, our core issue, and what happens in that moment where it's like we have no capacity for relating with words. And what's worked for me, there's the body piece for me that I know that in our relating, that when there's contact through the body, through touching, that something can shift. And so if it can't be through the words because there's too much energy, sometimes getting away from each other physically, like going out of the house, or just physically putting some space in between us helps the energy to come down. But also, once that's defizzed a bit, I know there's this piece that if there can be some sort of touch, that the body has a different reality than the mind and the emotions. And I know for me that has always been a really big piece, that there has to be some sort of touch that can kind of bring more capacity in to relate in the areas that we don't necessarily agree. So that's just something that's worked for me, and I just know that when it has felt like we're on the opposite ends of the universe, it feels like the world is falling apart. But there is no back door, and at some point it's going to shift and change. And so, um, what capacities and abilities do we have available in those moments when we think we have nothing?
Thank you. Yeah, for me, what's really worked is that eye contact. So I can remember a situation where it was really intense and I totally didn't agree. And um, the fact, a couple of situations actually, where it was just like we had full eye contact and he didn't agree with anything. I didn't agree with him. But because we loved each other, we were there for each other and we agreed to completely disagree. And in that, I looked at what I needed to take responsibility for me in having this relationship move forward in the way that I needed it to move forward for me. And I found that when I did that and I took full responsibility for what was all of my angst about, what were all the emotions and how I wanted to scream and cry and everything else, and I went back and did a bunch of work with me solely, and then I was able to get more across to him in a way that was not emotionally charged. And in that, I could rest in that and really get that none of this was his issue. He didn't care about any of it. And that was okay for me because I got in it where I was wounded from other relationships, from past and things like that. And so therefore, it brought me closer to him, to connect with him in a way that I wouldn't have been able to. It would have been just a head-on fight and struggle. But he still did what he said he was going to do, even though I totally disagreed. And yet it was somehow okay because I was able to work through my issues. I was able to get across to him that I didn't agree. He got that, and he so therefore it all worked out in the end. And because of that, it's like this wound that was in me, I felt it go deeper, and so there actually more healing took place than could have ever taken place if I had fought him in what was really not real for him. It was real for me, but not for him. So therefore, by clearing that within myself, our relationship has just grown deeper, and our communication is deeper too because we trust each other a different way when we communicate. So there isn't anything that I won't go to him, because I am prepared that if I do feel that wounding, I know that somewhere inside it's not solely based on him or anything else. It's based on my lifetime and all of the wounds that I've had. And in fact, I see it as a gift, and I have gratitude that he's shown that part to me through whatever fight and tussle that we've had, because again, it's just made me more open and more willing to go to those places that I wouldn't have gone before.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Valerie, do you have any comments about any of this?
Yeah, I was thinking about, you know, the triangle that we've often learned about there needing to be, you know, reality, affinity, and communication for relationships to work. And I've just been looking at how, you know, the affinity has to be there to work on the reality and the communication pieces. And sometimes I've noticed that, you know, if I have a big conflict with my husband, that affinity piece will go away. And that's not the time for me to be in there trying to communicate something or get into reality about a real difficult situation in our life. It's you know, if I've gotten really angry and triggered and upset and if he's reacting to that, you know, it is a good time to just break and go and get myself centered, go on my yoga mat, go do my meditation, because when I come back from that, I am in a more centered place, and I'm able to communicate from more of a place of conscious awareness and love and you know, wanting to solve the problem rather than just, you know, from this reactive, like, angry, hurtful and hurt it place. Hurt it, that's not a word, but feeling hurt by maybe something that was said or a misunderstanding. I mean, that's the time that I find it the most difficult to not become explosively angry, and it's because something has hurt me and I don't want to feel the pain of it, or I'm unable to feel the pain of it at that moment. If I could just, you know, not shield myself from the pain of a comment that somehow cut me deep, you know, if I could just feel it and even let him see the depth of pain, it would prevent me from striking out in anger and reactivity. And I think those are the most difficult times in relationships, is those times when we get something triggered and we get reactive, and all of a sudden explosive energy is going on. And the most difficult part for me when I'm in that is to walk away and go get centered and stop trying to get the communication through and stop trying to get the reality in there, because the affinity is broken down. So that's a triangle I need to remember. If I could just remember in the midst of the conflict, right?
Yes.
That would work so great.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So those are great tips and ideas and that when you're in a crisis, yes. So if anybody out there wants to get a hold of myself, Susan Faber, or Valerie Heavens, or Lynne Hilderman, Lynne, how would they get a hold of you?
They can just contact me through BritanniaBodyWorks.com or LynneHilderman@gmail.com.
Thank you. And Val?
I've got a website, ValerieHeavens.com, and vheavens@gmail.com.
Thank you.
That's my email.
And mine is harmonioushealing.com or susan@harmonioushealing.com. Excellent. Well, thank you, ladies. What do we call ourselves again?
Wondrous Women.
Yes, we are. We are Wondrous Women. Yay! All right, thanks. Bye for now.
Bye now.